Howdy, everybody. Bear here again. And sorry I haven't made a post here in a couple of days. It's been shitty internet. We had crap internet in Amarillo, and just was too tired at the end of the day yesterday to make an entry. So I thought I'd just do them all in one, just kind of fill you all in on what's been going on the past couple days. Um, Started off leaving Weatherford. Left Weatherford, then went over, did some shopping real quick, and got a picnic lunch for later that day. And then we rode from Weatherford. We only went about 15 miles on the old route and stopped in Clinton, Oklahoma, and stopped there for the Route 66 Museum, which is by far the best Route 66 museum there is on the entire route. I've been to all of them, many of them several times. This one is the best at explaining Route 66, its history, how it was made, and everything that happened on the route. Really good museum. If you're going to go to one museum of Route 66, you got to go to the one in Clinton, Oklahoma. The rest of them are good, don't get me wrong, but this one is the best by far. So went there, stayed for about an hour, and then afterwards it was back on the road. Went up and over and all over Oklahoma on Route 66 until we got to the next town in Elk City, Oklahoma. Stopped in Elk City, and there we stopped outside of, but didn't go into, the so-called National Route 66 Museum, which is not nearly as good as the one in Clinton. So we stopped there, but they do have a 40-foot sign outside, big giant Route 66 sign outside. So we stopped there for a group photo outside. Gathered everybody up under the sign, took a picture. Ooh, excuse me, hiccups. And then got back on the route. Then we rode for about another, I'd say another 45 miles on the old road until we got to the town of Sayre, S-A-Y-R-E, Sayre, Oklahoma, and stopped there in the city park. And they got a huge city park. It's got a golf course, rodeo arena, it's got everything. And it's got a nice place where we stop and have our nice little picnic lunch. So we had a lovely lunch there. Then it was back on the old route for a ways for probably only about 20 miles, maybe a little less than that even. And there's an old closed down section of the route that we can get to. And what I do is I pull the group off over there and give everybody a chance to ride their bikes up and down on the old route. All the grass is growing up through all the cracks in it and everything, and so it really gives you the feel of, the old abandoned road. And gave everybody a chance to ride up and down on it and take some pictures of them riding on the old road, which we did, and did that for a little bit. Let's see, and then from there, got back on old Route 66, rode for about another 25 or so miles until we went into Texas. Yeah, we went into Texas. Kept riding and riding on old Route 66 until we stopped in Shamrock, Texas. Stopped in Shamrock and stopped at the old U-Drop in Conoco. And this is the old Art Deco station from the 1930s and 40s. Beautiful station, really beautiful. They even light it up with neon at night, and it's green. It's really cool looking. So we stopped there, had a look around, then we just rode up the street real quick, fueled up the bikes, and then back on Route 66. Excuse me. And got back on the route and kept on going until we got to the Overlook. Yes, we stopped at the Texas Rest Area Overlook, which overlooks the Great Plains, and it's kind of up on a hill, so you can look out over the Great Plains, and yeah, they're pretty plain. And looked out over the Great Plains for about 5 minutes, get a good look around. They got a neat exhibit inside. It's also been buried underneath this giant mound of earth, so it's also a tornado shelter. Because there's no shelter out there. If there's a serious storm, that's about the only thing you can get to that you can shelter in. So we stopped there, looked around, then back on the bikes, and rode on into Amarillo, Texas. Rode on into Amarillo, and we stayed at the Big Texan Steak Ranch Hotel, and got to our rooms. That night we had a nice big steak dinner. Everything's bigger in Texas. So we stopped at a nice big steak dinner. Love mine. I had a nice big 21 ounce top sirloin. A bunch of the people couldn't finish their steaks because they bought bigger ones than they thought. So I ended up eating about half of everybody else's steak. So I ended up eating about 36 ounces of steak, which, hey, I don't have a problem with that. That's half of the Big Texan Steak Challenge. I've done that. I've finished it. I didn't finish the whole meal in 1 hour, but I did finish the whole meal. And I'll tell you one thing, man, that is a lot of food. I'll never do that again. But then hung around in the bar afterwards, had a couple beers, and then went to bed. The next day, we left Amarillo and went to the opposite side of town, really, and stopped at the Cadillac Ranch, where there's a group of artists that got donated a bunch of old Cadillacs by a farmer, and he says, "Hey, I want you guys to do something with them on my property." And they said, "Okay." And they couldn't think of anything too good, so they just buried them nose down. I think the group is called the Ant Colony or the Ant Farm. They're a cool bunch of artists. But they repaint them once or twice a year, so they start with a clean slate. So, because everybody goes out and they spray paint, and we all spray painted our stuff on the, our names and everything, or where they're from, on the cars. Took our pictures, and went down the road about maybe a mile and a half. Stopped, fueled up the bikes, and then from there is about a 45-minute ride to Midpoint Cafe in Adrian, Texas, and stopped there for some pictures at the midpoint sign, which means, can you guess what? We made it halfway. Yeah, we made it halfway. So we went outside, took some pictures out in front of the midpoint sign. Then we all went inside and stopped and had a piece of pie. You got to have a piece of pie at Midpoint Cafe. It's great. Best pie on the route, really. It is the best piece of pie you can get on Route 66. Stopped there, had a pie, some coffee, did a little shopping in the gift shop, and then from there it was back on the road. Went back on the road, stayed on old Route 66 for a ways, and then it goes underneath Interstate 40, so we had to get on the interstate for a ways. Till we got to New Mexico, hit the New Mexico border, and this was our time zone change too. This is when we went from Central Time to Mountain Time. Got off at the exit there and got on old Route 66 again. Took that all the way in until we got to Tucumcari, New Mexico, and stopped in Tucumcari. Had lunch there in Tucumcari at a great place called Kicks on 66. It's one of these old diners that's left from the late 1950s, early 60s. They got the lunch counter and everything, so we all sat at the lunch counter and had a great lunch. After lunch, everyone had about a half an hour. Walk around, go up to the Blue Swallow Motel, take a picture of that, TP Curios, the Safari, the Palomino. Everybody had a chance to walk around. It's not good to get back on the bikes right after lunch anyway. You just feel lethargic. You just don't want to go fast. You don't want to do anything really after a good lunch. So we did that. Walked around, then got back on the bikes and rode for another hour. Rode until we got to Santa Rosa, New Mexico, and we stopped in Santa Rosa. We stopped and fueled up again. Then we just went just under a mile up the road to Bozo's Route 66 Auto Museum and Hot Rod Shop. And if you ever get a chance, go in there. This guy does some of the best work I've ever seen of restoring and hot rodding cars. And it is just, some of his stuff is just phenomenal. He exports stuff all over the world. People will want a specific make, model, and year of car, and they'll phone him up and say, "Hey, I want one of these restored or hot rodded," and he'll do it. And he just ships them anywhere in the world. Really cool place. So we stopped there, took a break. Then from there, back on the route. A lot of other tour companies, they just go through Albuquerque, but Albuquerque's nice. Don't get me wrong, but I much prefer going to Santa Fe. And so does everybody in the groups. So we got back on the bikes, rode up, went on our way to Santa Fe, but we had to stop one more time just south of Las Vegas, New Mexico, take a rest break because it was a good hour. Took a rest break just at a gas station there. Took a rest break, had a cup of coffee, got something to drink, and then it was back on the route. Now this is where Route 66 was actually put on top of the old Santa Fe cattle drive trail. So we got a ride through the Santa Fe Cattle Drive Trail and took that in and took it into Santa Fe, New Mexico. So, and then we got to our hotel in Santa Fe that night. We went out to dinner. Really good place. We went to Coyote Cantina in Santa Fe. It's only about 2.5 blocks from the hotel. Great food, really cool place. Very casual. It's not like all the snooty fine dining, restaurants in Santa Fe. This is a lot more relaxed atmosphere, and that's kind of what we like. Then just back to the hotel for well-earned rest. Next day is our rest day in Santa Fe. In other words, everybody sleeps in. I slept in until probably about 11 a.m., which, God, that felt good. Slept in until about 11 a.m., then went down and met some of the people in the lobby at 12:30, and we go shooting. We go to an indoor shooting range that has rental pistols. And I teach everyone how to shoot. If you've ever seen the film No Country for Old Men, there's a point in the film where they say, we got to go get us some hardware. Well, this is the gun shop that they go to in the film. It's called Tina's Range Gear. It's a great place. Went in, got to shoot a variety of pistols, and also got to shoot a .44 Magnum. Everybody loves that. I love that. I have one, and I still love shooting it. Problem is, ammo's expensive. But it was worth every shot. It was really worth every penny to do it. Everybody had a great time that went with me. Went over, did a quick stop at the Santa Fe Harley-Davidson dealer on the way back just to buy some souvenirs. I had to buy a new headlamp for one of the bikes. A big old rock hit the headlamp on the bike and broke it, so couldn't take the risk of a flying glass hitting somebody else behind them, so I had to fix that. But then, just a rest day. So that's pretty much been the last few days. So anyway, that's about it. Until next time, keep the rubber on the road and the shiny side up. We will see you guys later.